I mean, the fire service have told us that this building is so dangerous. If a fire takes hold, not only could that fire spread as quickly as Grenfell, the whole building could come down. I actually learnt about this by email. I was sat at my desk when that email landed, and I can't tell you what it felt like to know that you're going to lose your home. I was literally physically shaking from head to toe. I felt sick. I didn't know what to do. I literally did not know what to do or what to do next.
I heard someone talking behind the door, so I looked through the glass, and I can see 7 people. It was 2 women and the 5 men. They dressed like a police people. So the first reaction, I said, who's this? What's happening? So I even joked because my husband was watching TV. I walked to him. I said, you've done something wrong. Is the police outside? So we laughed. When we opened, they said, oh, Mr. Sharma. Is it Mr. Sharma? Yeah. You have 1 hour. You have to leave your property. It's like evacuation. This is the fire service. And all of a sudden, now we have to, in 10 o'clock in the night, leave everything and just run somewhere knowing nothing. When we come back, where are we going? What is going on? And I said, no, we're not going to leave. I'm not going to leave. So you telling me I'm now in such a dangerous situation that I have to move? No, I'm not going to move. And they obviously said madam, we don't want to discover your dead body tomorrow.
Hi, it's Harry from Commonhold now. We're doing the nationwide tour today. We're in Ipswich, in Tom Hunt, a Conservative MP's constituency, a highly marginal seat that's going to be very important in the next general election. We've got Claire here today, and behind me is Cardinal Lofts. It's an utterly unsafe building, so much so that it's actually illegal to go inside unless you're a resident. Claire's got some boxes she's going to be moving out in the coming days, and I'm going to give her this phone so she can record it.
Thanks, Harry. So here we are inside the building. Here's the prohibition notices that have been put on people's doors, telling them that they've got to evacuate the building. And as you can see, they're already ripping out parts of the ceiling, and it's pretty much like being on a building site.
Cardinal Lofts seem like a dream come true for young first-time buyers. An old factory overlooking the marina with 4 extra floors of luxury apartments. They had been promised a swimming pool and gym too, but the dream quickly became a nightmare.
I asked guys, well, what is going on? Are you coming to fix a swimming pool? They said no, we're investigating here. So they actually dig into basement. The only information I've got, they said and I said oh, well, what is that? They said it's messed up. It's a literally problem with the basement. I was what are you talking about?
But the basement was just the beginning. They discovered the flats have dangerous cladding, dangerous insulation, faulty fire doors, missing fire breaks, including a big void between the old building and the new floors. Perhaps most shocking of all, residents have found out that Ipswich Council signed off this building, knowing it didn't conform to regulations.
This building should never have been signed off by building regulations. The council need to answer for this. What has gone on? It's not right. People are losing their homes. This is my home. Something needs to be done to change the way that Leasehold operates. I've got no control. Someone else is in control of my life.
I come from Ukraine when it was the Soviet Union, so the people, it was the same system. All Eastern European countries, they have the system that if you own the apartment in the building, you own equally piece of land underneath, so you're in a full control.
Coming back after a day in Ipswich has shown me that while I have a ringside seat to this unfolding disaster that is Leasehold, things could be so much worse. The story of Claire and Julia shows us all how utterly broken new home ownership can get in this country. Now the thing is, abolishing leasehold on its own wouldn't actually help Claire and Julia. In fact, it would make them worse off. You know why? They'd be the ones left to stump up the millions of pounds to fix that building. It's clear the Building Safety Act needs fixing. It's got more holes than Swiss cheese. And I'm now going to speak to Alex Dickon, a leaseholder at Cardinal Lofts and one of the leaders of Ipswich Gladiators, and he's helped us to make this film. Hi Alex, thanks for coming on the call to talk about your situation and what all the leaseholders at Cardinal Lofts are facing.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Harry.
So obviously these are big numbers, but what are we looking at in terms of the total cost, even if it's not finalised? what is the total cost of repairs or, remediation that's going to be involved for your development?
Yeah, so I must stress that this is an estimate because we still don't know the full extent of the issues at Cardinal Lofts. But I would predict that the total cost to fix the building would be £17 million.
Wow.
So to separate that, 7 million would be to fix the external wall, and that would be covered by the Building Safety Fund. But that still leaves 10 million, which who knows who is going to cover that final bill.
So I understand that your freeholder is a super rich one, £37 billion pension fund. I mean, surely that's a godsend for you under the Building Safety Act with the statutory waterfall scheme.
Yeah, initially it was great news with the waterfall scheme. Having a rich freeholder, you would think that yes, they're going to be above the 2 million threshold for freeholders. But unfortunately, Railpen have managed to hide behind a ghost company called Grey GR and are able to put themselves below this 2 million threshold. And therefore, it's up for grabs as to who is going to cover the internal fire safety defects and waking watch costs.
So if they're not necessarily on the hook for all the cost, who's going to pay the remaining £10 million?
The majority of the cost is going to fall to unqualified leaseholders who will all receive an unlimited share of that £10 million.
So
And
wait, hang on a second. So you're telling me that a £37 billion pension fund has had its financial liabilities capped for what they're doing to pay to remediate their building, but then the actual innocent leaseholders, or a good proportion of those innocent leaseholders that are deemed unqualified, because is it that they own, is it two or three, I think three or more properties, isn't it?
exactly, yeah.
But
So
they now have to pay, there's no cap to their contribution.
So unqualified leaseholders are completely innocent, like myself, as a qualified leaseholder as well. They own 3 or more properties, and these can be properties across multiple buildings around the country. They don't have to just be in Cardinal Lofts, for example. But where they're an unqualified leaseholder, they're going to have an uncapped, unlimited bill. And with our estimation of how much it's going to take to fix Cardinal Lofts, they could be faced with a bill equivalent of the value of the property before the fire safety defects were discovered, of course.
So what was the value of the property are we talking about? This is, Ipswich property apartment. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so approximately £125,000 for an apartment in Ipswich.
Now, there's another thing that I'm aware of on other developments, and it may apply to yours, where you have a situation that the fire brigade would be happy with a certain level of remediation, but then and you might be able to move back in. But then when it comes to mortgage lender confidence, they're not happy to lend on those leasehold flats. Now, is that something that you guys have considered or has been looked into? Is that something that is, being discussed at the moment, that, the remediation level that might be pursued might not actually bring you up to the level where you can actually sell these properties and move on with your lives?
Yeah, that is something that we're certainly fearful of. As Railpen are effectively being forced to fix our homes because we've been evacuated by the fire service, they can now easily cut corners and only remediate to that certain point where it's safe enough to live in, but not safe enough for mortgage lenders and insurance companies to be confident with the safety of our homes.
Now, this is going to maybe raise some eyebrows in some quarters, but I mean, the problems sound so bad. I mean, has something like demolition been considered?
Yeah, so demolition is certainly on the table. And for us, I would suggest that a majority of leaseholders would consider demolition as a suitable option. We've all been evacuated from our homes now, and even if we're landlords, we've lost that rental income, we've lost that property that we've made a personal investment into. So if it came down to a demolition and a payout as a result of the demolition, yes, we've lost our homes, yes, we've lost our properties, but at least it's a quick exit.
So I'm guessing after this whole horrific situation that you find yourself in, you're never going to buy a new build or a leasehold again, I'm guessing.
Never again. And I would recommend that to anyone I know. Don't buy new build, don't buy leasehold, don't buy shared ownership. And I'm from Suffolk, and I look at thatched cottages and I think, hey, you've got a thatched roof, but actually that's safer than living in a high-rise building in the centre of Ipswich.
For the sake of accuracy, let's be clear. Railpen, the current freeholder, are no way to blame for creating the defects at Cardinal Lofts. They bought the building years later after the original developer had gone out of business. Now, we've approached them for comment, and their subsidiary, Grey GR, has provided us with the following statement. That statement is more revealing for what it doesn't say than what it does. Absolutely no clarity on who's going to pay. Arguably the most important question on leaseholders' minds. And there's nothing there about when Claire, Julia and Alex can move back into their homes, or when any decision is going to be made about that property. Commonhold now will keep following this story, we promise. Now, to end on a few remarks by the men vying for votes in Ipswich at the next general election. First of all, we're going to hear from Jack Abbott, the Labour challenger, and the incumbent MP, the Conservative politician, Tom Hunt.
My name is Jack Abbott and I'm Labour's parliamentary candidate for Ipswich. Now, the cladding scandal is a national issue, but we're seeing it here really strongly in Ipswich too. We've got people in Cardinal Lofts who have been forcibly removed from their homes and don't know when they'll be able to return. We've got other residents at St Francis Tower who've been living under a shrink wrap for the best part of 2 years. Now, the Labour Party have said that we're going to abolish leasehold for all new properties, but we also need to reform existing properties as well, moving from leasehold to commonhold too. But this goes far beyond party politics and individual voters. This is about making sure that residents have respect, dignity, safety, autonomy over their own lives. And 6 years after Grenfell, we've finally got to make these changes. So please, whatever your political stripe, please reform and act now.
It's become clear to me in the time I've been Member of Parliament that the current leaseholder system is in need of fundamental reform, if not a replacement of a new system, and I think Commonhold has many merits which deserve exploring. Whether it's been Cardinal Lofts or whether it's been St Francis Tower, we've seen the ways in which leaseholders do not have the powers and the certainty that they need to get the services they need, and also not to be on the hook for exorbitant fines they should never have had to pay or be even been threatened with. So this is an interesting campaign. It's one I have a lot of sympathy with. Whether it was rebelling on the fire safety bill, where I was prepared to actually vote in a different way to most of my parliamentary colleagues, or whether it's been the Westminster Hall debate I held on St Francis Tower, or whether it's the 10-minute rule bill that I'm actually bringing forward to Parliament next month, I'd like to think that I've been a strong voice for leaseholders in Ipswich, and I will continue to do so and support them in any way I can.
Join Commonhold now to end leasehold for real home ownership. Commonhold gives us dignity, autonomy and control. Let's make our homes truly our own.